Notre-Dame de Reims is the seat of the Archdiocese of Reims, where the kings of France were crowned. The cathedral replaced an older church, destroyed by fire in 1211, that was built on the site of the basilica where Clovis was baptized by Saint Remy, Bishop of Reims, in AD 496. That original structure had itself been erected on the site of some Roman baths. A major tourism destination, the cathedral receives about 1 million visitors annually. History. Excavations have shown that the present building occupies roughly the same site as the original cathedral, founded c. 400 under the episcopacy of St. Nicaise. That church was rebuilt during the Carolingian period and further extended in the 12th century. On 19 May 1051, King Henry I of France and Anne of Kiev were married in the cathedral. Whilst conducting the Council of Reims in 1131, Pope Innocent II anointed and crowned the future Louis VII in the cathedral. On May 6, 1210, the cathedral was damaged by fire and reconstruction started shortly after, beginning at the eastern end. Documentary records show the acquisition of land to the west of the site in 1218, suggesting the new cathedral was substantially larger than its predecessors. The lengthening of the nave presumably being an adaptation to afford room for the crowds that attended the coronations. In 1233, a long-running dispute between the cathedral chapter and the townsfolk boiled over into open revolt. Several clerics were killed or injured during the resulting violence, and the entire cathedral chapter fled the city, leaving it under an interdict. Work on the new cathedral was suspended for 3 years, only resuming in 1236 after the clergy returned to the city and the interdict was lifted following mediation by the king and the pope. Construction then continued more slowly. The area from the crossing eastwards was in use by 1241, but the nave was not roofed until 1299. Work on the west facade took place in several phases, which is reflected in the very different styles of some of the sculptures. The upper parts of the facade were completed in the 14th century, but apparently following 13th century designs, giving Reims an unusual unity of style. Unusually, the names of the cathedral's original architects are known. A labyrinth built into the floor of the nave at the time of construction or shortly after included the names of 4 master masons and the number of years they worked there, though art historians still disagree over who was responsible for which parts of the building. The labyrinth itself was destroyed in 1779, but its details and inscriptions are known from 18th century drawings. The clear association here between a labyrinth and master masons adds weight to the argument that such patterns were an allusion to the emerging status of the architect. The cathedral also contains further evidence of the rising status of the architect in the tomb of Hugues Libergier. Not only is he given the honor of an engraved slab, he is shown holding a miniature model of his church and wearing the academic garb befitting an intellectual. The towers, 81 meters tall, were originally designed to rise 120 meters. The South Tower holds just 2 great bells, one of them, named Charlotte, by Charles, Cardinal of Lorraine in 1570, weighs more than 10,000 kilograms. Following the death of the infant King John I, his uncle Philip would be hurriedly crowned at Reims, the 9th of January 1317. During the 100 Years' War, the cathedral and city were under siege by the English from 1359 to 1360, but the siege failed. In 1380, Reims Cathedral would be centre of Charles VI's coronation, and 8 years later Charles would call a council at Reims in 1388 to take personal rule from the control of his uncles. After Henry V, King of England, defeated Charles VI's army at Agincourt, Reims along with most of northern France fell to the English. The English would hold Reims and the cathedral until 1429, when it was liberated by Joan of Arc, which allowed the Dauphin Charles to be crowned king. On the 17th of July 1429, Following the death of Francis I of France, Henry II was crowned King of France on 25 July 1547 in Reims Cathedral. In 1875 the French National Assembly voted £80,000 for repairs of the façade and balustrades. The façade is the finest portion of the building, and one of the great masterpieces of the Middle Ages. On the outbreak of the First World War, the cathedral was commissioned as a hospital, and troops and arms were removed from its immediate vicinity. German shellfire during the opening engagements on 20 September 1914 burned, damaged and destroyed important parts of the cathedral. Scaffolding around the North Tower caught fire, spreading the blaze to all parts of the carpentry superstructure. The lead of the roofs melted and poured through the stone gargoyles, destroying in turn the bishop's palace. Images of the cathedral in ruins were shown during the war by the indignant French, accusing the Germans of the deliberate destruction of buildings rich in national and cultural heritage. Restoration work began in 1919, under the direction of Henri Deneux, a native of Reims and chief architect of the Monuments Historiques. The cathedral was fully reopened in 1938. Thanks in part to financial support from the Rockefellers, but work has been steadily going on since. Exterior. The three portals are laden with statues and statuettes. Among European cathedrals, only Chartres has more sculpted figures. The central portal, dedicated to the Virgin Mary, is surmounted by a rose window framed in an arch itself decorated with statuary, in place of the usual sculptured tympanum. The Gallery of the Kings above shows the baptism of Clovis in the center, flanked by statues of his successors. The facades of the transepts are also decorated with sculptures. That on the north has statues of bishops of Reims, a representation of the Last Judgment, and a figure of Jesus, while that on the south side has a modern rose window with the prophets and apostles. Fire destroyed the roof and the spires in 1481. Of the four towers that flank the transepts, nothing remains above the height of the roof. Above the choir rises an elegant lead-covered timber bell tower that is 18 meters tall, reconstructed in the 15th century and in the 1920s. The total exterior length is 149.17 meters and its surface area is 6,650 square meters. Interior. The interior of the cathedral is 138.75 meters long, 30 meters wide in the nave, and 38 meters high in the center. It comprises a nave with aisles, transepts with aisles, a choir with double aisles, and an apse with ambulatory and radiating chapels. It has interesting stained glass ranging from the 13th to the 20th century. The rose window over the main portal and the gallery beneath are of rare magnificence. The cathedral possesses fine tapestries. Of these, the most important series is that presented by Robert de Lenoncourt, Archbishop under François I, representing the life of the Virgin. They are now to be seen in the former bishop's palace, the Palace of Tau. The north transept contains a fine organ in a flamboyant Gothic case. The choir clock is ornamented with curious mechanical figures. Marc Chagall designed the stained glass installed in 1974 in the axis of the apse. The treasury, kept in the Palace of Tau, includes many precious objects, among which is the Saint Ampoule, or Holy Flask, the successor of the ancient one that contained the oil with which French kings were anointed, which was broken during the French Revolution, a fragment of which the present ampoule contains. Notre-Dame de Reims Cathedral, the former Abbey of Saint Remy, and the Palace of Tau were added to the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites in 1991. 800th anniversary. In 2011, the city of Reims celebrated the cathedral's 800th anniversary. The celebrations ran from May 6 to October 23. Concerts, street performances, exhibitions, conferences, and a series of evening light shows highlighted the cathedral and its 800th anniversary. In addition, 6 new stained glass windows designed by IMI Nobel, a German artist, were inaugurated on June 25, 2011. The 6 windows cover an area of 128 square meters and are positioned on both sides of the Chagall windows in the apse of the cathedral gallery. The Cathedral of Reims, by Domenico Quaglio. The first German shell bursts on the cathedral during the First World War. Reims Cathedral burning during World War I. The Cathedral of Reims at night. Rive de Couleurs. Interior view, West Rose. Above the choir. North transept. Axial chapel. Stained glass windows designed by Marc Chagall, 1974. Roof details. Support structure of the roof. The labyrinth of the cathedral. Paving stone in cathedral nave commemorating baptism of Clovis by Saint Remy. Main gate. Golden eagle. Interior of the cathedral. Cathedral diagram. Village Honnecourt's drawing of the flying buttress at Reims, California. 1230s. Flying buttress with pinnacle and a statue. Architectural details depicting horse chestnut tree leaves. A marker commemorating World War I.